Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 437 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. Whether you're watching live or you are watching the recording, there already seem to be quite a few comments from a lot of you, but we have to acknowledge we are sentient, who asks, am I the first? To which I can say, to which I actually did say in the comments, yes, you are the first. We Are Sentient says, glad I didn't miss this. Breaking the speed limit all the way home paid off. I didn't read that. Law enforcement officers, please ignore that last comment. Praguez is here as well, saying Cześć from Prague. Oriana says, hello, waiting for the live to start on the laptop while watching an older top 10 video on the TV app. Somebody please reassure me that things are in sync, because it's looking slightly, not totally, but slightly suspicious here. Bruce says, hi all, tuning in from New Mexico. Looking forward to hearing more about the new H24. Jacob says, hi to everyone from Phoenix, Arizona. Rachel is here as well, saying hello. Greetings from London, says Shabir. Tesh from Wooch says, I don't know who, actually. A comment without a handle. Do you have the new Cherry Blossom Guerlain, says Rachel. I think the answer to that is no, because that isn't the new Cherry Blossom, is it? I'm pretty sure that's not meant to, I don't know, I haven't read the press release for this one. Maybe this is meant to be the Cherry Blossom. Anyway, we have got quite a bit to get through today, and you can see from this beautiful display here that kind of goes from pinks to greens to greys, that I'm planning to do them all in one video. So we've got like a kind of feature length thing to do, and depending on how we get on with these, I've also got something else that, if possible, I would like to touch on. But the priorities are this new addition to the L'Art à la Matière collection from Guerlain, two new Aqua Allegorias. They're the same Aqua Allegoria, but one is an EDT and one is a Forte edition Eau de Parfum. And we also will need to talk about the new flanker of Hermes H24. These are the two previous ones, so you know them. This is the EDT, this is the EDP. I should also very quickly say that if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please do consider doing so. You should be able to find a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below if you would like to find out how you can support my work. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, because that helps with the old algorithm. I think we need to start by smelling something, because there is quite a lot to say about these. We've got pre-sprayed blotters of all of them, so hopefully lots and lots of meaty discussion heading your way. I've got press releases. Yep, I've got press releases for all of them. Should be good. Okay, this is the latest in the, oh gosh, in the Aqua Allegoria collection, as I say. It is called Neroli Plein Sud. And there's something a little bit sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not allegorical, but I suppose the literal meaning of that isn't exactly the meaning. What is the word I'm looking for? Idiomatic, I suppose. Is it idiomatic, Plein Sud? And I don't know, does Neroli, so somebody who speaks French, does this mean kind of like Neroli full on south, Neroli full of the south? You know, what would be the best way of translating that? It is credited to, did I say this is an Aqua Allegoria? I didn't mean Aqua Allegoria. This is a new L'Art à la Matière. If I said Aqua Allegoria, I apologize. This is credited to Delphine Jelk. And I think, and I got this sample a few days ago, and I wore it straight away. So let us have a sniff with you. See, this is. I wanted to start with this one in a way because it's well, because I do think it's gorgeous, but also because it's pretty problematic. And I think you know where we're going when I say that it's problematic. But what am I smelling? I am smelling a really, really beautiful, kind of genuinely breathtaking, I mean, really beautiful, windswept, full of drama, full of intrigue, full of spice and florals and honey, Neroli composition. So first of all, you know, tick to Guerlain, they've called it a Neroli, and wow, it is a Neroli. Full-on Southern, says Rachel, is how I read it in my mind, but I speak French as a second language. Yes, and so do I. And I kind of thought, I mean, that is, I get that is the meaning we're supposed to get, but I wonder what a sort of more spot on translation would be. Neroli heads south from Guerlain's social media campaign, says exactly Linden. Yeah, but I wonder if that's just the social media campaign, or is it the translation of the name? Anyway, somebody will tell us. And because it's a Neroli, and it carries those orangey facets that you would expect from the Neroli, but also the kind of woody, slightly metallic facets, the slightly indolic facets, the beautiful kind of floral facets that link it with white flowers, because of course Neroli is a white floral, and all of that vivid, convincing Neroliness also, of course, takes it into the realms of colognes, because colognes in the past, traditional eau de cologne, used to rely very, very heavily on a Neroli note, but I guess they became very, very overtly and obviously cologne-like through the use of herbal notes like rosemary, lavender, etc., and also more obvious citrus notes, more obvious usage of lemon and mandarin and sweet orange. This is very definitely about the Neroli. And so although it does have those cologne inflections, those 4-7-11 inflections, it is also a floral, and the spicier elements, the honeyed elements of the Neroli are brought out very strongly. Putting aside the kind of problematic aspects that we're going to get to, it is beautiful. I think it is one of those instances of perfumery that can genuinely give you an uplift, like a breath of fresh air. And I have been really enjoying wearing it for the last few days. This isn't a big factor in whether I like a perfume or not, but it's also actually got comments from a lot of people saying, oh, what is that you're wearing? That's beautiful. Because it just has that really, really crowd pleasing quality, I think, without being overly predictable or safe. And what's interesting is that it certainly lasts longer than a cologne. It isn't fleeting. I was wondering actually what the longevity would be. Let me just label my blotter here. I was worried a little bit about the longevity what it would be, because I thought, well, if it's going to be really cologne-like, I'm not sure anybody should really be paying L'Art et la Matière prices for a cologne, but it really lasts. And whatever Delphine Jelk has done with the musks in the base is really, really clever, really skillful, because that Neroli aspect is sustained all the way through to the end. In fact, this might be a good moment for me to get the pre-sprayed blotter. So here's my pre-sprayed Neroli. What time is it here now? It's just gone 7 p.m. So this was sprayed maybe about 2.5 hours ago. It's just such a delight, and it really, really is full of heading south. That feel of heading south. So to me, going south means going to southern Italy, or to the south of France, obviously, or maybe even to North Africa, to Morocco. And it's got that real sun-kissed and yet soothing quality. So it's not oppressive. And I can just imagine this being such a delight and so charming in the summer months. And as an expression of, I was thinking about this when I was writing about Diptyque's Doson the other day, which of course references Vietnam, and it's a French brand referencing Vietnam, which is always going to be a somewhat dubious stroke problematic thing. And in the past, of course, Western perfumery, French perfumery, Italian perfumery used to reference other countries and shall we say, borrow from other countries' codes quite willy-nilly. But this feels like a very, very kind of respectful journey to another land. Delicious colon are two words that should never meet, says Ryan. When did I say? Sounds like a delicious. I meant cologne, people. Did I say colon? I said cologne. How is the sillage, says Power Connection? Pretty good, actually. Pretty good. Let's look at the press release. It's a very, very long press release. I do not intend to read the whole thing to you here. With Neroli Plein Sud, Neroli soars along the trail of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which, you know, is a reference to Guerlain's own past, of course, because they referenced him when they made Vol de Nuit all those years ago. And this is meant to be inspired by his novel Southern Mail. The book recounts the tales and travels of a, I don't know what it is, Latécoère Airlines pilot who crosses Europe and heads south for Morocco, just as the author once did. During the novelist's time as an aviator, navigation systems were not as refined as they are today. Pilots found their way by sight alone. Just think of that. I mean, it doesn't seem possible now, does it? Using visual clues like the scenic details and positions of landmarks below. This made the profession exceptionally hazardous. Aviators had to love taking risks, pushing their limits, and flying in the face of danger. They made every crossing a new adventure from which they emerged more mature and stronger. This spirit that once inspired Saint-Exupéry and his work now infuses this new Neroli, which rediscovers its southern origins. They're both propelled by the same force, guided by the power of the elements. Theirs is a quest for the absolute and the infinite, where sky and dunes blend into one in the hot, enveloping, exhilarating sunlight. I want to get to the bit where they talk about the perfume. But we also need to, because I saw there was something about a new Neroli they mentioned, composed by Guerlain perfumer Delphine Jelk. The trail sets its sights southward towards Morocco, its homeland. Under the, what are you all laughing at? I don't know. Under the clear Moroccan sky, hundreds of orange trees burst into view, forming a palette of azure and green, flecked with flashes of white. There, shaded by the branches and foliage, thousands of delicate, snow-white flowers are aglow with freshness. At dawn, when all is calm and the air has not yet been touched by the burning sun, their fragrance is sharp yet soothing, infinitely elegant. It is this fresh, luminous, and floral vitality that characterizes the soaring composition. And French luminous floral, actually, are very, very good words to describe this. Then, softly, comes the contrast. Like a plane, rising and jetting off for the more arid climes of the Moroccan desert, the accord heats up and acquires a spiced intensity of turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, and clove, evoking the warmth of the dunes stretching beyond the horizon. This warmth contends with the freshness of the opening, bringing it the force of hot, captivating spices. And it is really interestingly spicy. I mean, I perhaps, wouldn't necessarily have picked up, what do they say, cloves, but something gingery, cinnamony, absolutely. And it's a beautiful contrast. It is that kind of hot and cold contrast. This contrast then extends into deep woody notes carried by exquisite vetiver and warm sandalwood. And then here's the bit about the new Neroli from Morocco. The Guerlain perfumers headed south to find an historic terroir of orange trees once soared over by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Their journey took them to Morocco, specifically the city of Chemisset. There they discovered a uniquely potent orange blossom drenched in sunlight and shaped by the winds of the Atlas Mountains. Organically harvested and handpicked at dawn, it reveals its most beautiful scents. The blossom is then steam distilled on site to obtain a floral, bright, vivid Neroli essence, the essence of Neroli Plein Sud. It is no coincidence that this Neroli is so closely tied to Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Morocco is the cradle of this extraordinary flower, but it also inspired the work of this great writer. It was there, between desert and sea, that he found his vocation. The beauty, atmosphere, and vastness of this land would fuel his novels from the very first, Southern Mail, right through to The Little Prince, the most translated non-religious text in the world. Interesting description there, because probably a lot of people would say that it is a pretty religious text. And quote from Delphine Jelk herself, she says, Neroli Plein Sud is the pure freshness of Moroccan orange blossom, uplifted by the sensuality of spices, turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, like a fresh breeze blowing over the hot sand of the Sahara. And then there's a lot more there about Saint-Exupéry, and we won't go on about that because we need to move on. What have you all been saying? I get the feeling you've all been very, very naughty. Rachel says, sounds lovely for the summer. Absolutely. Oh, you're all just saying what you're wearing. Okay. But, and I'm really, really conscious of sounding a little bit like a broken record here. This stuff, okay, so 100 mils in the UK at least is just shy of £300, which I consider to be a lot of money. But I'm also very, very conscious of the fact that for so many recent releases, I've been raising my eyebrows and my jaw's been hitting the floor, and I've been going, oh my goodness, that's so expensive. Oh my goodness, that's so expensive. Oh my goodness, that's so much money. Oh my goodness, that, crazy amount of money, to the point where I'm kind of thinking, actually, where are the affordable perfumes? And I think I almost need to make a kind of decision where I either don't talk about the prices at length and just let you make up your own minds, because I also, just because I think nearly £300 is a lot of money doesn't mean that everybody watching this video is going to think that. For a lot of people, I know that is going to be an absolutely extortionate amount of money, and for a lot of people, they may think, oh well, that's actually not so bad. I don't mind paying that. These things are personal. These things are relative, and also I know that the prices will vary from country to country, and whatever this is, this costs in, I don't know, let's just pick Poland off the top of my head, because I happen to know the Guerlain, having you a counter in one of the shopping malls in Warsaw, that because of general cost of living prices and earning power in Poland, a l'art la matière must come across as even more expensive in Poland than it does in the UK, probably more expensive in a market like India. I know there's a sort of price hike, a greater markup added in Middle Eastern markets, in Dubai. So this is all relative. It isn't possible to be completely absolutist about it. What are you saying? Ryan says, it is doable, but if I'll spend 300 notes on a scent, I want a lot for my money. Natasha says, no, I think for most of us, 300 is not an affordable price. But I almost feel like I kind of need to draw a line and say, because I don't know what an affordable perfume is anymore. Aqua Allegorias, we're going to talk about them in a few minutes. It wasn't that long ago that you could quite easily pick up an Aqua Allegoria for something in the region of £50, between 50 and £60. These ones don't. Some of the Aqua Allegorias actually cost more than some bottle sizes of Guerlain Chalimar. So I don't know what is to be done about that. There is a bit of me that also thinks, well, if I never mention the horrific prices, then it's almost as though the brands have won, and they've just kind of bludgeoned us into submission. But I also don't see the point in going on and on about the fact that these new releases are expensive. It makes me think of what the situation was a few decades ago, and I'm talking about the decades before I was born. If you went sort of back 50, 60 years, perfume was not actually amongst the more affordable luxuries, or the more affordable products that you could get out there. You spent a serious amount of money, and I guess that was the day of the signature scent, when you really, really thought carefully, and you bought the one that was going to last you for a long time, and it was seen as, I suppose, a bit more of a serious investment. And then I guess in the 70s and early 80s, it became a bit more affordable. But we're in a strange kind of situation at the moment. And thank you. Who is it just said it now? Because I just thought, yes, that is a point I want to make. There you go. Sandra says, I'd rather spend that amount of money in the vintage or discontinued Guerlain, to be honest. Just the other day, Madame Persolaise doesn't know this yet, but it's okay. She won't find out because she doesn't watch these videos, because she has better things to do. But what she has got coming to her as a gift, we were talking about YSL Paris, and I very much lament the fact that Paris isn't as glorious as it used to be. And it's a scent that's always worked extremely well on her. I mean, I happen to think Paris is beautiful. I kind of don't care that it smells quite 80s, because it is just gorgeous. And I happened to find on the other auction sites are available site, 75 mils sealed of YSL Paris, from a bottle that is definitely from the 80s, not from the, how YSL, the company history can be sort of divided into 4 stages. You know, you had the Charles of the Ritz stage, which was the first one. And then the second was, I think, when it was called Parfum Corps or something. It's from that stage, which means it's an 80s bottle. So 75 mils of vintage YSL Paris, as I say, sealed for £50, which, I mean, you know, I kind of think, okay, and if you want me to buy this, then I have to spend nearly 300. So I could get like 6 vintage Yves Saint Laurents. I mean, okay, putting aside the fact that maybe I'm giving Madame Persolaise something that's full of carcinogens, but, you know, let's just forget that one for the moment. We Are Sentient says snagged 100 mils of Cocorico the other day for €70. It's a weird situation, and it's also upsetting to think and dismaying to think that if I want something of this kind of quality, because unquestionably this is a beautiful perfume, it is a lovely perfume, and I've really enjoyed wearing it, and I continue, you know, I'm looking forward to wearing it some more. But it's kind of dismaying to think that if this is the kind of thing I want, I have to spend nearly £300. Which is more, you know, which is more than a lot of Frederic Malles. We're in weird times. I promise I will read all of the comments that you're leaving, but let's read, you know, afterwards. But let's read a few now. Michael says the truth is fragrances do not provide the revenue margins that we would think that they do, and so these brands are raising prices. I remember the interviews that you had with Remy Pourvet. Yeah, a good point. Shabir says perhaps these high prices are justifiable if the perfumes are complex, nuanced, layered, and long-lasting. But even then, I might only buy a sample. Bruce says, totally agree. I bought 100 mils of vintage Cabochard EDT this morning for $60. I mean, there you go. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Ryan says, I've seen Tower's Lonesome Rider on eBay for £500. Gosh, really? I'll tell you what, though, I just out of interest, I searched for Chanel Bois Noir, you know, the precursor to Egoist. And I found a bottle in Japan for which somebody would like to have over £2,000. Needless to say, I did not submit a bid. But yeah, it's weird times. But I don't know. I'm feeling very, very, very conscious of sounding like I'm just kind of harping on and on about the same thing, and maybe I almost need to have like a kind of shorthand to go, this is a pricey one, make of it what you will. If £300 is peanuts to you, then fine. But it is beautiful. It is beautiful. And as I was preparing the pre-sprayed blotters, it is the one that was radiating the most with that beautiful contrast that Neroli has between the kind of metallic, woody, and floral. It's well done. But you kind of also think, you know, for that amount of money, it bloody better be well done. Anyway, let's kind of leave the world of Guerlain for a few minutes and go over to the perhaps more refined, more chic, but more humorous world of Hermes. Rachel hit the nail on the head, says Bruce. Rachel, what did you say? The price problems, in my opinion, come from international conglomerates sucking the value out of otherwise small family businesses. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole other topic. You know, maybe we need to have like a round table discussion, all of us. The trouble is, whenever I've tried to get industry figures to have a round table virtual discussion in the Persolaise studio about this, suddenly they're not interested. You know, maybe that's not a surprise. Maybe I need to kind of write an article about it where I promise them anonymity. I wonder if even then they would be interested. Moving on. In 2021, Christine Nagel gave us a brand new masculine for Hermes called H24 or H24. Then a year later, we got the EDP of it. The first one was in Eau de Toilette. Then we got the EDP. And just this year, at the beginning of this year, we have got the first kind of true flanker of it. It is called H24 Herbe Vives, which I guess, there you go, which I suppose either means living herbs or living grass. And I believe this is, yeah, it is an EDP. Now, while we are spraying. I should say that I seemed to be initially a little bit of a lone voice as far as H24 was concerned, because I really liked it, and I still really like it, and I don't actually ever want to be without a bottle of it, because I think from the kind of mainstream and mainstreamish brands where you have got the likes of Dior Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel and whatever YSL are pushing on gents now, and Dolce & Gabbana and Versace and H24 really was like a breath of fresh air, trying to do something different, trying to create its own trend. Amongst those brands, the one that I also still have a lot of time for, or yeah, well, certainly more time for than Bleu and Sauvage, is Guerlain's L'Homme Ideal, but that kind of seems to have gone a little bit quiet lately. Personally, and this is just personal, if I had to choose between H24 and L'Homme Ideal to wear, it would be H24. And what I liked about it is that this kind of very, very prominent, unashamed use of a synthetic called sclarine or sclaren, which has got this kind of clary sage quality to it, but is also really, really metallic and somehow steamed. And you could see very, very, very clearly why Christine Nagel called H24 a modern fougère. There's something very, very urban about it. It's very, very green, and yet also somehow very metallic. It feels like, you know, it feels like you're in the Sky Garden in London. And if you haven't been, do go, because it's free as long as you pre-book, where you're in this ultra modern structure of glass and steel and metal and shiny surfaces, and yet you're also in a jungle, and those two coexist in a beautiful kind of harmony in the Sky Garden, and they also exist in a beautiful harmony in H24 EDT. Hermes Vives, and we have got a press release, I believe is supposed to be even greener. And also what's interesting about it is that Nagel has said that she wanted to use a different synthetic. So she's ditched the sclaren, or perhaps I should say she's toned it down. I don't know if she's ditched it fully. I think maybe she has ditched it. And she's used a synthetic called Physcool, Phys spelt Phys, I believe. And it's a material from the company Man, as in Mane, not used very often in perfumery. It's got kind of a minty feel, but also it kind of creates a physical sensation when you put it on skin of minty coolness. And Nagel decided that she fancied a little bit of this in the scent. Let me just read a little bit. Look at that. So this is the kind of... The rest of today's broadcast will be brought to you by green paper. Posh wrapping paper from Hermes. Anyway, let's fold this back up. What does the brand say about it? With H24 Hermes Vives, Christine Nagel, Director of Creation and Olfactory Heritage for Hermes Parfum, pursues her vegetal vision in the footsteps of contemporary man who is at home in urban nature. Styled like a casual piece from the men's wardrobe, H24 Hermes Vives offers a new composition of fluidity and a love of textured, well-proportioned materials, which are as important to Véronique, is that Nishanian, director of Hermes Men Universe, as they are to Nagel. Hermes Vives emerges when rain strikes, breaking a man's stride, transforming the perception of space. Rain illuminates greenery in a multitude of shades and scents, reveals unique emotions, reactivates energy, and offers men a different perspective. Quote from Nagel: I was inspired by the happy smell of nature after the rain, an aroma at once vegetal and earthy, fresh and musky. That unique moment when nature and the city, still drenched with water, release new scents and take on new colors. Refreshed by the cloudburst, this perspective captures every previously invisible nuance of vegetation, encouraging all the other senses to yield to a newly revived natural framework that sculpts an elemental pattern, part glass, part asphalt. The original composition of H24 is free to deploy new variations of its line. The perfumer once again demonstrates her art of digression, hybridizing nature and technology by intertwining a bouquet of fresh herbs, savory, sorrel, hemp, and parsley, whose aroma increases dramatically after a rain shower, with pear granita and Physicool, a sensory molecule with hints of mint that leaves an astonishing sensation of freshness on the skin. H24 Herbe Vive is the imprint of a new perspective, etc., etc. And all of that is fine. And when you smell it, you get that kind of orchard fruity, cool, icy cool orchard fruity, slightly soapy feel that I personally like from H24 EDT, that for me originally took me back into the realm of scents like Dior Higher, which I kind of thought was interesting about the EDT. But my favorite of these remains the EDT, and I'm afraid I think the new Herbe Vive and I part company after a certain point, because where is it? Where is the pre-sprayed one? Here we go. Because Tripthy is saying, "Oh no!" But now there is a very, very, very perceptive gentleman who quite often appears live on this channel. I don't know if I should name him because he told me about this. He told me his views on the scent in a direct message. So I don't know if I'm allowed to share. I know he can't make this live, but a while ago he told me what he thought of Herbe Vive, and as soon as I smelt it and as soon as I wore it, his words came to my mind, because the more it develops, the more you realize that there is quite a little bit of woody amber action going on here, and it starts becoming spikier and I suppose kind of more mainstreamy masculine. So the whole thing that made H24 interesting and different and special and kind of cool, cool in a, I'm trying to think of, what sort of designer. My knowledge of men's design isn't up to speed. And I don't want to say Kenzo because that's mixing brands. But you know how? Let's think of a very, very, very high streety sort of brand. You know how Uniqlo somehow managed to be very kind of functional, cool. Even though there's something about a lot of their clothes that is so decidedly uncool. Some of the stuff is very, very anorakish. Or maybe like Muji, how Muji has got that kind of very, very down-to-earth sort of Japanese cool. H24 EDT really pulls that off very well. This Herbe Vive version just starts, for me, going too much into heavier, more assertive, trying too hard type territory, which takes me back to one and one of the very first things that Christine Nagel actually did for Hermes. Do you remember when she did Eau de Citron Noir, which had this really, really gorgeous opening citrus note and then went, for me, way too far into the ambery woods? Apparently, it's been a huge success for them. This feels like the H24 version of Eau de Citron Noir. And yeah, so I have got pre-sprayed EDP and pre-sprayed EDT just to make the comparison. So here's pre-sprayed EDT. Yes, which is just it. I think it makes its point much better. It's somehow natural and yet metallic. It's outdoorsy and yet industrial. It's fresh and yet somehow cryogenic. Just so much more interesting. It's so much more balanced. And the EDP, the EDP, I think is I kind of in order of preference there for me, they go EDT, EDP, Herbe Vive. The EDP, I guess, is just leaning more on a kind of weightier, heavier green feeling, and maybe more obviously vetiver like when I'm smelling it now. But yeah, I mean, I'm pleased. The reason why I'm pleased we have the Herbe Vive is because it shows that the line has done well enough for Hermes to believe that they ought to invest in a flanker. I wonder if this latest flanker is the one that's going to do best, in which case, fine, if that means the original EDT sticks around. But The EDT is the one that I will continue reaching for, the one that I will continue wearing. I think it's the one that actually expresses and conveys the idea that was inherent in the line the best. But I would be very, very interested to know what you think. DMS, I found Herbe Vive unrecognizably fruity for 30 minutes. Then it just dries down to normal H24. I'll stick to the EDP. Okay, so you like the EDP. And what are some other people saying? I love the subtle green shade of the juice, says Ryan. Yes, I mean they've also done slightly different shades of grayish green for the packaging. Herbe Vive rides again. EDP might be better if they make it, says We Are Sent In. Perhaps we should all be buying LVMH stock instead of their fragrances, says Tanelli. There's an interesting point. I'll wait for the parfum flanker, says Pradeep. Now that would be interesting. What would they do with a... See, because I think, if anybody can kind of bring something new to the H24 story, it would be Christine Nagel. But to me, it's a scent, I think, that needs to be an EDT. And by the way, the EDT lasts forever. It does last a very, very long time. Just because it's an EDT doesn't mean it's not long lasting. I have invested in perfume stock, says Oris Eros. Let's move on, because if we have time, I would like to do something beyond these guys. So let's go back to the world of Guerlain. And we have got this year's, or this spring's, new Aqua Allegoria. And it is called Florabloom. There you go. Also credited to, can you see that? To Delphine Jelk. And just straight away, they've given it to us as an EDT and also as an EDP, which they are calling an Aqua Allegoria Forte. Now, with the Aqua Allegorias, it almost feels like one year you get the one that's made for the likes of you and me, and then the next year they think, okay, we need to kind of make a bit of money here. I really, really enjoyed Neroli Plein last year, as you know. I loved the Harvest version, and I would like to try and get a backup of the Harvest version. I wore the Harvest version a lot. I also like the Forte. This, I'm guessing, from the name, from the color. I mean, when I saw this color, I felt like saying, I thought Barbie and Ken was a thing for 2023. I mean, talk about pink. I think it's even pinker in real life than it is here. Are they the same shades of pink in the... No, I suppose the EDP is a shade darker. We should start with the EDT, assuming it's going to be the lighter one. Oh, Natasha says, I managed to get the Harvest on sale with a pretty good discount at John Lewis. Ah, well done. So let's say Aqua Allegoria EDT. I'm itching to buy one of the Aqua Allegoria frags, but I'm undecided if it's worth it, as they're not long-lasting. Neroli Plein is also probably my favorite, says Alice. Do you know Erba Fresca? Because that's still probably the best. Right, let's try this pink stuff. I wonder what this is going to be like. I mean, I know nothing about it, except I'm guessing it's going to be a floral. I heard that there'll be a new flanker of L'Instant pour Homme in May, says Natalie. Oh, I don't know. That would be interesting. Now, a flanker of L'Instant. Oh, okay. Okay, initial reaction, did they mean Florabloom, or did they want to say Fruity Bloom? Candy Floss Harvest, says Natasha. No, it's not Candy Floss. Have you tried Bergamot Calabria, says, is it Eloisa? Yes, and I really like that one as well, although that one I wish just lasted a tiny bit longer. I really like the Bergamot Calabria. So this is some kind of tart, kind of acidic sweet fruit. It's kind of trying to do a sort of exotic-y, cocktaily, coconutty kind of thing. I mean, maybe we're all meant to kind of like put umbrellas in our hair, little cocktail umbrellas in our hair, and start wearing grass skirts and doing a kind of hula dance or something. Okay, it's not for those of us for whom Aqua Allegoria is going to be Pomplaloon, Erba Fresca, something that is quite kind of delicately, pristinely outdoorsy, maybe with a bit of a twist. It isn't that. This is kind of fruity, floral, shampoo, musk territory. Let's spray the EDP, and then we'll look at the press release and see what I'm meant to be smelling. Mr. Persolaise in a grass skirt, says Paul. That'll be my smell fee for this year. How much would you pay to see me in a grass skirt? No, don't answer that question, actually. Investing in grass skirt stocks. Yes, I think, or maybe don't. You might find they'll start crashing. EDP stands for Eau de Pink, says Tina. Very, very good. Very good. Okay. So this is the EDP Forte, strong Florabloom. Okay, it is kind of the same thing, but stronger. The grass skirts are now swaying in the breeze, and you know who's that? What was the guy in Fantasy Island? Mr. Rourke and Tattoo are kind of coming down to greet me and asking me what my fantasy is. My fantasy is not this perfume, by the way. This one maybe. Yeah. Okay, it's yes. I think, like I said, maybe this year's Aqua Allegorias aren't meant to be so much for us. Aqua Allegoria, Florabloom, the new super bloomin' fragrance, says the press release. I have to say that is a lovely image. Look at that. That's a very, very pretty image of florals. Okay. What can we say? Let us go straight to the perfume. As the latest emotive addition to the Aqua Allegoria collection, Florabloom captures all the magic of a desert superbloom and the intoxicating spectacle it provides for the senses. A rare natural phenomenon that occurs in deserts like Chile's Atacama Desert, superblooms appear after periods of intense rainfall, bringing fresh life to arid landscapes and transforming the desert into one breathtakingly ephemeral garden blanketed with thousands of flowers in a riotous blaze of radiant color. By breathing new life into the environment, its biodiversity, plants, birds, animals, and insects, superblooms represent rebirth within some of the most arid ecosystems on the planet. Now, this incredible expression of nature's power has inspired Guerlain in the creation of a radiant new bouquet for Florabloom, a fragrance available as an eau de toilette and eau de parfum forte, two takes on one natural spectacle at two different times of the day. Tell us about the fragrance. As the sun hits its blazing peak above the Atacama Desert, a sumptuously hued superbloom comes into view. Peeking through the sand, these almost magic flowers have inspired the Delphine Jelk in the creation of a rainbow bouquet celebrating the sheer power of nature, brought to life by a mango accord. Okay. True to nature, tuberose radiates from the heart of a multicolored bouquet to create a dazzling fragrance. Bursts of citrus-filled sunshine glimmer to reveal an exclusive blend of bold tuberose made from a grass vegetable butter enfleurage pomade. Okay. Tuberose absolute and a strikingly realistic CO2 extraction of Indian tuberose. If you say so, Guerlain. I mean, I did not smell this and think I'm smelling tuberose, but there's obviously going to be some of the enfleurage in there if they say that there is. So what about the EDT? Or EDP, rather. Revealed in all their faceted glory alongside a fruity mango accord, these white tuberose flowers beam from the heart of radiant composition like a bright light refracted into a rainbow-colored bouquet, and then it says rose, violet, iris, etc. Let's read about the EDP. Yada, yada, yada. Delphine Jelk reflects the scene with characteristic warmth, the absolute fullness of a richly multicolored floral bouquet underscored with powerful sandalwood. As sunshine drenches the landscape, nature's own sweet floral fragrances build to a sunset peak, showcased by the bold warmth of sandalwood and depth of moss. Florabloom's floral bouquet pulsates like a desert landscape ablaze with intoxicating color and scent, while tuberose takes on a sensual, almost narcotic feel. A pairing of grass, centifolia rose, and tuberose vibrates with carnal seductiveness. Violet and iris again. Plump and gourmand mango accord. Plump mango accord. Interesting. And so on. Okay, but and then they've actually talked about doing the tuberose enfleurage with a picture of Thierry Vasseur smelling some tuberoses. So then there must be some in there, and the CO2 extracted Indian tuberose, but I don't think if you wanted a tuberose perfume, you would be going for this one. Let's look at the pre-sprayed ones. So this is pre-sprayed EDT. I'm a little offended on behalf of the color pink, says Oris. Oh, I don't know. I think it's pretty pink. It's become the EDT. This is the EDT. Quite a sort of vanillically sweet, a little bit kind of like Werther's Originals buttery. And EDP, same kind of thing, I suppose. Woody, musky. If there is a tuberose floral in that, I mean, it's very, very, very fresh, very light, very sunny. But the emphasis is really on the kind of sweet, vanillic kind of base. So yes, there we are. Here endeth the lesson on the Aqua Allegoria, I think. Are they blowing a fan over the enfleurage, says We Are Sentient, so it's there by osmosis. Oh, naughty. Anyway, we have got some time for me to mention something else. Now, this is a little bit of an odd one, this one. I'm just going on the tablet here to bring up some information. I've got the brand, because I want to talk to you about a brand whose perfumes are not very, very easy to get. And that's why I've kind of been putting off talking to you about it. It's a brand that's been around for a while. And there are lots and lots of things about it that I admire, and I'm going to talk to you about some of those. But it's one of these brands where you need to kind of get onto the waiting list and be on what they call their ledger, so as to have any hope of getting one of their perfumes. So I'm also conscious of the fact that I may be telling you about something that you're never going to be able to get your hands on. And I really, really thought that the best way for you to find out about it, in case you might be interested in it, was to let their founders, or one of their founders, talk to you about it, directly in a live interview on this channel. But an interview doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. So I thought, okay, before any more time passes, I will tell you about it myself. There is a lot to say. I'm not going to spend tons of time on it. There is a lot to say because it's a brand where every single detail has been very, very cleverly and carefully and neatly thought of and sewn up. And that's why I wanted you to hear about it from the founders, because I thought they would be best placed to explain it to you. So if I make a mistake in one of the many, many details that are related to this brand, if you know better than I do, or if indeed you're involved with the brand and I make a mistake, please do feel free to correct me. Apologies for the mistake, and do feel free to correct me in the comments below. But the brand is, some of you have already guessed, the brand is Ffern, spelt with 2 Fs, but I'm assured that we pronounce it Ffern as opposed to Ffern. And if you go onto their website, the way that it works is that you have to sign up. You don't just get to buy the stuff straight away. How much of that is clever marketing, I don't know, because there is a lot of very clever and convincing marketing that goes into this brand. You have to sign up to their ledger. And then if you get onto the ledger, what happens is that 4 times in the year, 4 points in the year, so spring, summer, autumn, winter, you get sent a box like this. So this was the box for autumn 23. So you get a box like that. Inside the box, you get a sample vial of the perfume, and so there you go. There's a sample of autumn 23, so that if you decide you don't like it, you can actually send it back, but you also get to keep some of the other products that they have decided to release with that particular scent. So for instance, in the case of autumn 23, you would have got a tea made in collaboration with the Organic Herb Trading Company. You would have got a kind of ceramic disc to presumably scent with the perfume. You would have got a description of the scent. You would have got a couple of blotters so that you could smell the scent on paper. And as I say, if you decided that actually this one wasn't for you, you would send it back and I guess get your money back as well. They give you a lot of information about the perfume in the box. So if you look on the inside of the lid, it tells you how long it was aged for. So it was 32 days of maturation and 28 days of maceration in this particular case. It was aged in Somerset in the UK. This particular bottle that I've got here was bottled on the 23rd of July 2023, and it even tells me that there are 28 ingredients in here, 14 of which count as top notes, 7 as mid notes, and 7 as base notes. There is, when I found out about this, there was a bit of me that was thinking, oh, that's quite cool, that's quite interesting. But there was also a bit of me that was thinking, does it matter? Is this just kind of like, appealing to the geek in me? Because at the end, it's all down to how it smells. It does tell you who the perfumer is. Their perfumer at the moment is Elodie Durand. It also tells you what a lot of the materials are, for instance, just reading, and also their provenance. So it tells me that the timid pepper that's been used here is from Nepal. The sweet orange rind is from Brazil. The patchouli is from Indonesia. The red cedar is from Virginia, North America. The labdanum is from Spain, etc., etc. You also get an artwork that goes with the scent. I mean, there's kind of nothing they haven't thought of. Let's tear into the artwork. The artwork for Autumn 23 was this kind of surreal pastoral scene. And, oh no, sorry, you're meant to unfold it. There you go, you get the whole thing. And a little bit about the perfume. I'm not going to be able to refold this now. And they must be doing all right because they recently opened a boutique in London. And of course, one of my first questions to them was, hang on, if you only make perfumes for the people who are on the ledger, then what on earth is going to be in the boutique? Well, they are going to make some that are going to be for the boutique. And also, I believe, anything that gets sent back by the people who are on the ledger that don't want the scent also goes into the boutique. Let me just read you a little bit from the brand, just in case there's something I haven't covered. For each fragrance, Ffern sources the best in organic, sustainably harvested, natural ingredients. It is meant to be an all-natural brand and aims to distill at source wherever possible. Sustainability has been woven into every area of Ffern, with the packaging completely free from plastic, handmade from 95% recycled and 100% recyclable materials. Ffern is also one of the first perfume makers to create a bottle that is entirely recyclable. As a Ledger member, you receive your own 32ml bottle of Ffern 4 times a year at the turn of every season. 32, apparently they've worked out, means 2 sprays a day until you get your next one. To which I thought, okay, so this is perfume for people who think that 2 sprays a day is enough. I mean, I had a kind of little internal chuckle. When I wore one of them today, when I wore Autumn, I think I probably did about 78 sprays just of the Autumn. But anyway, there are people out there who want no more than 2 sprays a day. Each bottle arrives with a sample vial, so you can decide whether or not you wish to keep it. Any returned bottles become part of the Ffern archive, which all Ledger members also have access to and are sold in-store at the Ffern flagship in Soho, London. Though it might seem unusual to develop 4 fragrances a year, a concept that lies a world away from the idea of a signature scent, the team finds great freedom in the task. Owen Mears, founder of Ffern, says, "We are able to continually experiment with new and exciting ingredient combinations. We never sit still and never stop creating." Like their Ledger members, they also believe that there is something pleasing about wearing an individual scent for each season, an embracing of change, growth, and the rhythm of the year. And one thing that I know as well is that they give themselves the freedom to decide that maybe, from one year to another, next year's Autumn is either going to be a slight tweak of the previous year's Autumn or a completely different scent. And I would guess that some of that might depend on how the previous year's scent has done. If it's done quite well, then I guess they won't want to mess around with it too much. So then if you decide you're going to keep it, you break the tab there and you get this bottle. I mean, it all looks... I was thinking about this as I was preparing for today's episode, that in many ways, Ffern is the kind of anti-pink Aqua Allegoria. There are some people who will love this and buy this and will enjoy wearing it. There are some people who will think, oh my goodness, what's happened to perfumery? And they'll go one way, they'll go the way of different brands, you know, maybe they'll discover, I don't know, Les Indemodables, or they'll go completely different direction and discover Amouage or Frederic Malle or whatever. And there are some people who I think will turn the other way and will say, no, this is what I want. They will want something that feels authentic in a different kind of way. You know, they'll want something where the bottle is as unostentatious as it could possibly be. And what do they get if they spray autumn? You know, I was also thinking of like Jo Malone, and I feel like I'm doing these uncharitable comparisons with Jo Malone, but I think, you know, there is a market out there. There is a need out there for perfumes for people who don't want this kind of thing. I think Jo Malone has at the moment cornered that market, but that's a real shame because I think most Jo Malones are so awful. It would be far more interesting if the people who don't want this kind of thing were drawn to this kind of thing, because you smell it, and at least at first sniff, they're really, really interesting. They're complex. You can smell the wealth of naturals that's in there. Having smelt a few, I think they do sometimes fall into that trap that a lot of all natural perfumes fall into, in that they start smelling a little bit samey. You know, they have that same kind of woody, floral, carroty, jasmine-y feel that a lot of all natural perfumes do. But that's why I also enjoyed Winter 24. Let me get Winter 24 out, because that was quite different. Where is Winter 24? I've got it here. Anyway, in case you're wondering what the Autumn 23 is, not that you can probably get it unless you go to the shop in Soho. It's tons of stuff. Like I said, carrot, basil, jasmine, geranium. It's a nicely done all natural scent. This isn't a brand for the likes of me, but there are people out there who want to have that kind of understated, minimal thing, and they deserve better than Jo Malone. Mind you, everybody deserves better than Jo Malone. Where's Autumn 23? This is pre-sprayed Autumn 23. Yeah, it's what's coming across now is kind of wood bark, shades of jasmine. Let's get to winter. So Winter 24. So this is their latest release, I believe. Again, composed by Elodie Durand. Same bottle. Taneni says it's interesting though that their prices are very affordable when compared to many other brands. Yes, but you're getting 32 mils, right? So you're not getting a massive bottle. And also, you know, I quite like the fact that you can send it back if you decide you don't like it. Now, I was quite taken with Winter. Yeah, because it had a really, really interesting kind of brittle, fragile, crisp, icy quality. And I was told by the brand that sometimes they like to interpret the season literally, and sometimes they kind of like to come at it in a different way and kind of subvert it and turn it on its head. What's Winter got? Let me tell you about some of the things in Winter. Is this the Winter box? This is the Winter box. So here, Rose de May, eucalyptus, which is giving it that kind of cooling, palmarosa, clove, bergamot, fir balsam, jasmine again. It's nicely done. It's nicely done, but also, like a lot of all natural perfumes, it doesn't have huge sillage and it doesn't last forever. And I think that's very, very deliberate as far as this brand is concerned. That's the kind of aesthetic they're aiming for. That's what they're going for. So at least I've told you about it. If you happen to find yourselves in Soho, well worth a sniff. If you want to put your names down on the ledger and then, you know, get a sample vial and see what you think of it. But it's an interesting way of doing the kind of anti-mainstream perfume stuff. I think it's by and large a kind of legitimate way, not necessarily, as I say, probably for the likes of the people who watch this channel, but certainly certainly not devoid of interest, and I will look forward to seeing what they produce in future with great interest. Anyway, we have managed to do just about all of that, I think, in under an hour. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned to social media for details of new videos heading your way soon. Until then, take care. Thanks. Bye now.